If you want to learn how to pour a concrete patio properly, as well as mixing 120 bags of concrete the easy way, keep on watching. Let's get started. I built this wooden walkway for my sister last year, but it goes out to this very sad, unfortunate patio. This is an old concrete patio, probably from the 1950s, that desperately needs a makeover, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. This patio seemingly hasn't been touched in a decade or so, and therefore there's a lot of dirt and debris, along with some hefty root systems that are completely taking over portions of this patio. But we're making a stand in this video and retaking this patio to make it an actual feasible and usable patio in the very near future. Once the vast majority of all the dirt and debris are removed, we can move on to pressure washing. I'm grabbing a 3000 plus PSI pressure washer to make sure that our existing concrete is as clean as possible before we get to pouring concrete. If you're doing this project yourself, you're most likely not going to have to worry about an existing concrete slab. Don't worry about it, because I am going to show you the proper steps and procedures to have a solidified base underneath a freshly poured concrete slab. But as you can see, this slab is extremely dirty and therefore is not only going to reduce the chances of any dirt particles affecting their finish, but will also be a way for the new concrete to adhere to the old concrete to provide more stability and strength, at least in theory, of course. Once I do a full once-over of this entire area, I then go back around and remove any of the weeds that were growing in between our concrete slabs. Our new patio is going to extend all the way to our walkway, which means we do have to do a bit of excavation right next to our existing concrete patio to make sure we have good proper base underneath our new concrete that we're going to be pouring. This isn't a significant area that we have to dig, however this is some of the toughest digging I've ever had to do because of how many roots there were. This is a very rooty backyard. But we eventually got it dug down to where we needed it to be, which was approximately 3 to 4 inches below the top surface of the existing concrete slabs. Our new concrete slabs are going to have more of a modern look, and two things are going to do that for us. The shape of it, because it's going to be a rectangle versus a square version, as well as providing a nice trowelable smooth finish versus the exposed aggregate that you see already. Each slab in this patio is going to have the same width, and by taking a few simple dimensions, I'm quickly able to determine that 27 inches is going to be the perfect size for each slab. I'm using standard 2x4 framing lumber for our concrete forms. That means each width length is cut at 30 inches, and the other two longer forms I'm keeping it at 8 feet long. They might need a little bit of trim up, but you shouldn't need a lot. I suggest finding a flat surface to secure all of your formwork to. It makes it a lot easier to line up all of your 2x4s. By taking some 3-inch long exterior Power Pro screws, I quickly and easily secure each one of these pieces of formwork together. Once we have a perfect little rectangle, I move the formwork to our concrete patio and start applying some stakes. You can use wood stakes in this application, but I always prefer steel stakes because one, it provides a more secure hold and it's easier to pound in, plus they're of course reusable and much longer lasting. I maneuver one of our corners of our formwork into the corner of our stakes and then place a third stake approximately 3 to 4 inches from the edge of our formwork. Once I like the positioning of our first frame, I then fabricate a second frame and place it right adjacent to our first one. I use the same 3-inch long Power Pro screws that I used previously to secure both frames together, but I do have a downward angle at this location because I want to actually try and remove these at a later date. For this project, we're going with a brick bond pattern, which means that we're going to have staggered seams. By marking the center point of our framework and then lining that center point up with the 2 frames that we installed previously will give us a perfect brick bond pattern all the way down the patio. The vast majority of these concrete forms are the same length, however, there are a few small ones intermixed with these long ones. I double checked my measurements, and yes, they are exactly half the size of our normal concrete forms, which means that these smaller sections are 49.5 inches long. I connect this one small form to all the adjacent forms right next to it, which means it has plenty of strength and stability since it's connected to 3 different forms together. I do the same exact process to the opposite side and then maneuver my way over to the next row and continue with the same exact process of installation as you saw previously. The only thing that changed the installation process was a bush. Yep, this one bush was slightly in the way and we actually wanted to keep this bush, and therefore I put a little notch in on one side, making sure that I was able to maneuver my way around this one particular bush. As I proceed to install the last concrete form, I have my brother-in-law pour in some 5/8 crushed minus rock. When dealing with any type of concrete project that's actually on the ground, you want to make sure that you have a proper base, and the minimal starting point for this conversation is to have a proper crushed rock that can also be compacted, because you need two very important elements for a sub base. One, it needs to be drainable, which is what crushed rock does very well, but two, it needs to be compactable, because in order for this concrete slab to not move on us over time like the first one did, you need to make sure that you have a good quality sub base that is compacted but also can drain moisture. As my brother-in-law spreads out and compacts more of the rock, I start leveling off our formworks and fastening them directly to our steel stakes. Another great thing about these steel stakes is that they have multiple fastening locations in different directions on each one, and therefore it's very easy to find a perfect hole no matter how far you hammer your stake in. This isn't a house footing, so I'm not killing myself trying to make sure that everything is absolutely dead nuts level perfect, but I do try my very best to make sure that we have as level of a surface as possible without trying to kill ourselves. But with those stakes in place and ready to go, it's time to pour some concrete, and luckily we have a helping hand.
With a concrete project of this size, we need to make sure we're not doing this entire mix by hand, which is why I brought in MudMixer. It's an ingenious system where we actually pour in dry bags of cement in the top, and it pre-mixes it through this roll where it's actually spraying it with water as it goes down this loop and dispensing perfectly into a perfect concrete mix. As well as the fact that it has a nice swivel feature as well, which is going to be really nice when we start pouring all of this area at once. Let's start mixing.
This machine resembles more of a turret to me, which is probably why it looks so cool, and the ease of installation is quite straightforward. Plug in your electrical, connect your hose, and you're basically ready to start pouring. The real time-consuming and exhausting portion of this project is how to get 130 60-pound bags of concrete into the backyard. And this is where I advise don't overload your wheelbarrow, because you're going to be making this trip quite often, and hopefully you can find a few extra helping hands to help you transport some of this concrete. I'll be discussing why we went with this machine versus other options later on in the video, but for now, this is how the machine works. There's a dial on the left side, and by turning it one direction or the other, you adjust the desired consistency very quickly and easily. And with a simple click of the button, you have concrete in mere seconds. Once you turn on the machine, these water jets start spraying, and the auger bit right below it perfectly mixes your concrete to the right consistency. There is a bit of a learning curve just to make sure you have it properly dialed in and getting the right consistency that you want for your concrete pour. There's a number of advantages when using this type of machine, but one of the nicest things about it is the fact that it's a one-man shop. You can easily take care of this pour by yourself. You might not want to, because it is a lot easier to handle with two people, because one person can be loading the machine while the other person is spreading out the concrete, which is why you see me stopping the machine and just making sure that we have a nice consistency all the way down the formwork, especially for this one. But it is a bit of a practice run when I first started, so I found this process of working with the machine go even faster after I went through a handful of bags. The swivel turret feature is also very nice because it swings on a dime, and that means it can pour into multiple forms in the same exact spot, or you can actually maneuver it so it's pouring directly into a wheelbarrow, and I can then easily move the wheelbarrow into a further away form. This is one way to get our concrete into tough corner spots, but I am going to show you a couple different other ways to maneuver our concrete into tough knit, tight knit areas. Once you pour enough concrete where you feel the entire formwork is completely full, I then take a wood 2x4 scrap piece and just use that as a screed and a guide to glide over our existing concrete formwork. In a sawing motion, I gradually maneuver this across the entire area, making sure that our 2x4 is resting on both sides of our 2x4 formwork. Once I screed off all of the excess, I do go back over all the concrete with a magnesium trowel. A magnesium trowel, if you're not familiar, it actually provides a very smooth surface because it smooths the surface of fresh concrete and opens up the pores for proper evaporation. I also find that it does an amazing job at filling all those tiny pores to make sure we have one solidified and solid concrete form before we get to our finishing trowels. I'm certainly no expert when it comes to actually finishing concrete, however I've done it numerous times, and a few tricks of the trade that I've learned is to make sure you just have the proper tools in order to have a finish that you're at least proud of in the end. The tool that I'm using at this point in time is called a concrete edger, and this is specifically a radius concrete edger. I run this tool along all the edges of our wood form, which provides a very nice and eye-appealing edge with ease. The only thing about this tool is just to make sure that you don't dig in the end as you're going back and forth. You want to lift up a little bit, and if you need a reference, think of it like a snowboarder ski, because if you dig in your front edge, you're going to go down and it's not going to be pretty. The same concept goes for a bowl float, or in this case a Fresno rounded pool trowel. This is a much larger trowel, which makes it very easy to finish off these large spans all in one pass, or at least maybe in 1 or 2 passes. These trowels are made up of stainless steel, and it really provides a very nice smooth surface of the concrete, which is what we're looking for on this project. Once I get the finish as clean as possible with that trowel, I then go back over it with a finishing trowel just to clean it up as much as possible. One major thing to think about when pouring concrete is to make sure you're looking at the weather ahead of time, because you don't want any large precipitation coming in and ruining the finish of your freshly poured concrete. Plus, depending on the temperature of the day, it can drastically affect the curing time of your concrete, so really keep that in mind and keep eye on that, because if it's hotter, it means it's going to cure much faster than if it's cooler. For this project, I knew I wanted to work in sections because I knew I wouldn't be able to edge properly and finish off every single slab if I did it all at once, which is why I poured 4 slabs the very first day, finished them off nicely, and moved on to the second stage the next day. As I noted earlier, I was going to discuss as to why you would use the MudMixer in this circumstance versus another option. First option being any type of portable concrete mixer, and this is by far so much quicker and better than a portable mixer because one, you can dial in the viscosity of the concrete perfectly and have it pour and mix at the very same time. Pretty amazing and so much faster than any portable unit out there that I can think of. The next option being just get a concrete truck to come out and pour 2 yards of concrete for your patio. Well, that is an option, but it's not an option for everyone because concrete trucks aren't always readily available, but guess what? Concrete bags generally are. Plus, on this job site, we weren't able to back up a concrete truck even if we wanted to because there's a septic tank in the middle of the yard and we don't want to potentially damage it by rolling over it. And final note with full disclosure, I actually met MudMixer at the Con Expo this year in Vegas. They were a really amazing team and I was so excited to feature them on my channel. They didn't pay me for this ad, but they did provide a free tool and I told them that I would love to feature them in a future video. If you want to check out their product line or any of the other tools or materials seen in this video, then please check out the links in the description box below. And also remember that I have seen this MudMixer at rental shops, so if you want to test it out first before purchasing, then make sure you check out your local tool rental yard and they might actually have it. As we get back to the project at hand, I've been busy pouring a lot of concrete, and finishing off is the most important thing to make sure we have a nice fluid look at the end. Concrete finishing is pretty forgiving as long as you're not overworking yourself because you don't want to do this entire pour all at once if you don't have the proper skill set and the team around you to do it all at once, which I didn't, so this is why I did it in stages. And remember, the edger that I used previously can be used on an inside corner and an outside corner. Just be well aware where that front edge is located comparatively to the edge of the concrete. One common question I've received on past concrete projects is, do you need rebar? Well, there seems to be a bit of back and forth whether or not rebar even does anything for a concrete patio like this in order to avoid cracks over the years, so why not test it out? I decided on this very front slab, I'll place 1/2 inch rebar and see if it does anything. I personally don't think that this is needed in an application like this as long as you have a good compacted base. I place rebar ties at every intersection and also raise it up so the rebar isn't laying flat on the ground when I pour the concrete. As our mud mixer fills up this last form, I screed off any of the excess, make sure we do the edger, finish it off nicely, but because this is concrete, I want to make sure we have plenty of ample time for this to dry, so let's wait till next week to bust it out of the forms. But in my eyes, this is still truly one beautiful, sexy beast of a patio. Oh yeah,